Hello and welcome to the Konvergent Video Series for the week of June 29th. Hope you all had a great weekend. Top three things we're going to cover in the video this week. First, the market had a wild week last week, with the market finishing down close to 3% on the week, mostly due to COVID fears. Two, we're going to cover a lot around unemployment, as we saw some mixed data in those numbers. And finally, I'm going to touch on some interesting consumer surveys around travel expectations in the next 6 months, as well as some personal experience from my travel last week. So with that, the S&P on the markets was down about 3% on the week last week, as I mentioned, mostly due to COVID fears. Headlines have been coming out over the last few weeks around increased cases, but it really seemed to drive the markets this last week, especially as we saw some major retailers announce the closure of stores, especially in some of the hardest hit areas. On the unemployment front, we saw an interesting week with unemployment. We saw new claims come in around 1.5 million, a slight drop from the week before, but pretty steady in terms of the amount of cases of new claims for unemployment we've seen in the last 3 weeks. When we look at continuing claims, those came in slightly down as well, around 19.5 million, but again, similarly to new claims, they've remained pretty flat when we look over the last few weeks. And interestingly, when we look at total claims from all programs, including the pandemic insurance, we actually saw unemployment claims rise on a total basis last week to back over 30 million. So with increased fears around COVID, I think it's going to be challenging to see any meaningful drops in unemployment until we get past some of these COVID fears. So again, something that we're going to continue to watch very closely in the weeks ahead. Next one we want to talk about is some interesting data on consumers' sentiment on travel in the next 6 months. We follow a group called Hedgeye. We showed some of these surveys back in April at the height of this crisis. And what they survey are people's feelings around their likelihood of travel to various types of travel in the next 6 months. So first, when we look at hotels and resorts, based on those surveyed, close to 70% say they are highly unlikely or unlikely to book travel to a hotel or resort in the next 6 months. And then when we look at the cruise lines, one of the hardest hit industries during this crisis, right now only 6% of those surveyed say they are likely or highly likely to book a cruise in the next 6 months. So just a lot of fears out there still around travel. And just from some personal experience, I had to take a trip this last week down to the Bay Area from Seattle, and based on traveling during rush hour in both San Jose and in the Seattle area to the airport, based on how quickly we were able to get through the TSA lines, and that in each terminal we were in, there was only one restaurant open in each, and even that wasn't overly busy. We have a long way to go to get things back from a travel standpoint to where they were before March, if we ever do. So, with that, when we look at the big picture of all of this, the bottom line for the week, we expect volatility to continue. There's a lot of data going to be released in the next 6 weeks that we've covered on the last few videos. So the things we're going to be watching closely first are COVID cases. Are we going to continue to see a rise in cases and see that continue to spike, and what would that mean? Two, over the next few weeks, a lot of corporate earnings are going to begin to come out, and we're going to get a sense for not only what we saw in Q2, which we expect to be very bad, but really what's most important is what do they expect for the rest of this year ahead. And then all of the stimulus programs, as they begin to wind down, some of them are winding down right now and others will be winding down over the next month. What comes next? Will there be another package, and what will it look like? So, our outlook at this point continues to remain cautious for all of those reasons. So with that, if you have any questions individually, as always, please feel free to give us a call and we can go through your individual situation to see if there's any changes that we need to make. So finally, hope you guys all have a great week and we look forward to talking with you soon.